Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Burn the RuleBook podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything you were never taught about menopause, mental health, and relationships one truth at a time. I'm Rachel Boyle, a licensed couples therapist, sex therapist, and certified menopause specialist. This podcast helps you understand what is actually happening to your body, mind, and relationships, and gives you real tools to move through life with clarity, calm, and connection. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to Burn the RuleBook podcast. Today, we're addressing a critical issue, the misdiagnosis of mental health conditions in perimenopausal and menopausal women, leading to the overprescription of antidepressants without proper evaluation. So if you've ever been told it's just anxiety, or you were handed an antidepressant without anyone screening you for perimenopause or menopause, this episode is for you. We're digging into a critical blind spot in psychiatry and with family practice and how it's leaving countless women misdiagnosed and underserved during perimenopause and menopause. So here's what you'll take away from today's episode: why so many women in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s are misdiagnosed with psychiatric disorders, and what hormonal shifts may actually be driving your symptoms. Also, the science behind how estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone affect your mood, brain, and sleep during midlife. And finally, how to track your symptoms, find the right providers, and advocate for evidence-based care that doesn't dismiss your lived experience. So stay with me till the end, and I'll share actionable steps you can take today to start getting the care you actually need. So starting with this psychiatric blind spot, too often women in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s present with symptoms like anxiety, depression, irritability, mood volatility, sleep disturbances, not feeling like themselves, and these are legitimate concerns. However, many leave their doctor's office with a prescription for an SSRI without any discussion about perimenopause or menopause. In fact, there was a recent study highlighted that nearly half of women aged 45 to 54 who received a mental health diagnosis during the menopause transition were prescribed antidepressants, with fewer than 3% actually prescribed hormone replacement therapy. And so this is important because during perimenopause and menopause, you have your hormonal fluctuations, which can significantly impact mood and cognitive function. So estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone play crucial roles in brain health, and declines in these hormones can lead to mood swings, anxiety, and depressive symptoms. So like I've said in previous podcasts, if you've never had anxiety before, you can get it in perimenopause. If you've had anxiety, it can get worse in perimenopause with panic attacks. The same is true with depression. If you've never had it before, you can get it in perimenopause. You can even get suicidal thoughts during perimenopause. In fact, the highest rates of suicide among women are in the perimenopausal years. So yet, despite having all of these mood symptoms and emotional and mental health symptoms, many healthcare providers focus solely on the psychiatric symptoms without considering the influence of the fluctuating estrogen and progesterone. And this oversight can result in treatments that address the symptoms, but not the underlying cause. And with addressing just the symptoms, they don't have the same efficacy as if you addressed the underlying cause of perimenopause and menopause. And so remember that during peri, your hormones are fluctuating wildly. That is, your estrogen and progesterone are wildly fluctuating. Your testosterone starts a slow, steady decline from the time that you're in your early 30s. So just know that, right? So your testosterone doesn't fluctuate. It's just your estrogen and progesterone. In a recent study of approximately 5,750 perimenopausal women, this was conducted by Newson Health. This was just released, you guys, this year in 2025. 96% of women reported negative changes in mood or emotions. That's 96% of women are reporting that they are not feeling great. So these symptoms that they reported, 84% reported that they felt anxious or stressed. 79% reported more easily overwhelmed. 72% said that they were feeling tearful. 67% angry or irritable, and 55% reported flat or blunted emotion. So it's kind of just like this flat feeling, like you don't have the normal joys in life, right? It's like the world is in black and white now. It doesn't look like you have a world of color. So of these women, 2/3 of these women sought help for their symptoms, usually from their family care doctor or their primary specialist. And 19% of them were diagnosed with a mood disorder. And then 38% of those women were offered antidepressants rather than screening for HRT. So this is a really, really big problem whenever women aren't being screened for perimenopause and menopause, because then the treatments that they're given aren't going to be as effective. So why is it that doctors are not catching this, specifically psychiatrists or family practice doctors? Because they're the ones that most of us see first whenever, we're not feeling well emotionally. And the reason is they're not trained on menopause and perimenopause and medical schools. They don't know the signs, the symptoms, or even what to look for. Also, a lot of times, peri and menopause is seen by many as a gynecological issue, not a neurological one, which, as we know from all the research that Dr. Lisa Mosconi has done on the brain, it's absolutely a neurological issue, because the brain imaging shows changes in connectivity and the neurotransmitter balance during peri and menopause. And yet, most psychiatric intakes don't include even one question about periods or hormonal status. This is also true if you're seeing a family practice doctor. That means many women are being misdiagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, or even bipolar disorder, when in fact they are in the phase of hormonal transition. That's perimenopause. And even though going into perimenopause and then into full menopause, it is a normal biological phase that women go through, it still deserves the proper diagnosis and evidence-based treatment. Women shouldn't have to suffer in silence just because perimenopause and menopause is considered a natural part of life. I always say, you know what? I want to have what's scientifically proven to help me the most for what's happening with my body. So what's happening when perimenopause and menopause is at the root of these psychological issues? So when peri is driving symptoms, a different treatment approach is needed, right? So in perimenopause, that different treatment approach should include a discussion around hormone replacement therapy, also to talk about support for getting good sleep. A woman might need to talk about some nutrition changes. She might need to get some more exercise, move her body in life, and also nervous system regulation. So that nervous system regulation, if you see a therapist that's trained in any kind of polyvagal or somatic therapy, which is what I do, then you need to have a trained therapist that knows about perimenopause and menopause that can also teach you how to do some nervous system regulation. And yes, some women might benefit from an SSRI, but it shouldn't be the first line prescription when a woman hasn't been screened yet for perimenopause or menopause, because then the treatment is not going to be the best because it's not addressing the root cause. So research has shown that treatment outcomes are much better when perimenopause is considered. And a study that was recently presented at ISHWISH, which is the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health, this was their meeting in 2025, found that among patients that were receiving hormone replacement therapy, they reported a 16% reduction in their antidepressant medication. If they were on estrogen and progesterone. Now, if they were on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, 28% of those people completely did not need their SSRI medications anymore. So this is really important because there's side effects to SSRIs that can affect your libido. It can affect your sex drive. And if you're in a relationship where sex is important and orgasm and connection is important, then if you're on an SSRI, then that can affect that. So for those women who still needed an SSRI and were on HRT, their mood improved nearly 84% whenever they were on the HRT combined with the antidepressants. So that's pretty big, 84% improvement compared to just the 63% who only used antidepressants, because once again, you have the side effects from antidepressants. So, okay, what do you need to do? You want to track your symptoms. You want to monitor your mood changes, your sleep patterns, your energy levels. You also can go online and get a perimenopause menopause tracker. There are a lot of really good ones out there that track not just what's happening to your body, but also the genitourinary syndrome of menopause and what those signs and symptoms are. So track all that information and then find a trained menopause specialist. You will hear me say this over and over and over. It's so important to find a trained menopause specialist so that you get accurate information and that you don't get unintentionally gaslit when you go to the doctor's office. So you can go to ISWISH, the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health. That's a really great place to find a trained provider. Most therapists are not trained on perimenopause and menopause. Most psychiatrists and doctors are not trained. So you need to find someone that's trained. Your OB-GYN is likely not trained. So that's why it's important to find somebody who's trained, because you think, oh, this is my doctor and they should be trained. But then you get there and then they give you wrong information. Once again, not because they're bad, it's just because they don't have the accurate information. And also, you don't want to get dismissed. You don't want to have to go to specialist to specialist to specialist like most women do, like I had to do before I finally found a person who really knew what they were doing and was able to help me in perimenopause. And you don't want to end up over medicated and dealing with side effects that you don't have to. So seek out the trained therapists, the trained psychiatrists, trained doctors who know what they're doing, because they're equipped to understand the full range of symptoms and treatment options, and they're far more likely to recognize the impacts of perimenopause and menopause on your mental health. So also, I want you to advocate for yourself. Don't hesitate to ask questions and seek second opinions if you feel your concerns aren't being fully addressed. Okay, so that's my talk for today. Perimenopause and menopause is real, right? It affects all of you, especially your moods, especially anxiety, depression, panic attacks, suicidal thoughts. Women can have all of those. They can also, have, really big mood fluctuations. And you don't have to live like that, right? You can get back to feeling like yourself. So thanks for being here with me today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend. Hey, leave me a comment or a review. Ask me questions on what else you'd like to learn about. I'm always happy to answer those questions. And any links for today, just look for them down in the show notes. And I'll see you next time.
Thanks for spending time with me today. I hope you found something helpful, validating, or just a little more human in our conversation. Remember, while I'm a licensed therapist, I'm not your therapist, and I'm not a medical doctor. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical or mental health advice. For personalized care, please consult with a licensed healthcare provider or mental health professional trained in the area you're seeking support. You deserve expert guidance that's tailored just for you.